morning. You are listening to KPCALP in Petaluma, a free-range radio and TV station. My name is Michelle Love, and this show is called Dynamic Change. And I am a certified wellness coach, self-defense instructor, fitness trainer, and I have a degree in psychology. And I am speaking today with this show every week to talk about how we can create more wellness in our lives, more satisfaction, heal emotional blocks. I give you psychological techniques for moving through emotional patterns that don't serve you anymore in your life. And I work a lot with addressing the whole being. So a holistic approach to having a healthy mindset, so mindfulness, having emotions that, like being able to pay attention to our emotions, that's kind of huge sometimes, rather than being kind of numbed out or just so busy and stressed out that things don't quite register. And I talk about how these patterns of our emotions are stored in our body, and how that can reflect into your health, that can reflect into how we kind of feel ourselves, or how we are not completely in our body on a full deep being able to tune into ourselves kind of level. I talk a lot about somatic experience, and trauma therapists work with somatic experience, and more of the psychology field is starting to work with how we're storing those emotions in our body. It lives in our tissue, in your cells, and you can't separate the mind and the emotions and how our body responds, holds memories, holds trauma. And so it's a very interwoven experience. So what I do here is I like to really educate people on how they can start listening to their somatic experience within their body, how they can start bringing it up to the surface and processing it. So that's what I do every week on Wednesdays at 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock. And if you would like more information on me, you can always go to my website, dynamicchangewellness.com. All right, so let's get started. It's a beautiful day. I think the weather is just gorgeous outside. And today I am going to talk about when you decide to start dating and you haven't dated in a long time, and how awkward stepping into that situation can be. And I think it's extremely healthy to be alone for certain periods of time, to get acquainted with yourself and maybe strengthen certain areas of yourself that need to be gotten familiar with, and it allows us to find ourselves. So I think it is extremely valuable to do that in life at times. If you're not already in a long-term relationship or something like that, it's great to take breaks. I always suggest and support that. But what I would like to speak to is when, after that period of time where someone, maybe they took a long break and they worked on themselves or decided really what they wanted next time around when they're ready to look for a partner, and how do people move into that space and find something a lot better than maybe what they had in the past. And that's what I want to speak to today, because we can do a lot of in our mind thinking about it and everything else of what we would like in a partner and everything. But I want to talk about the emotional qualities of that, and how we anticipate and what we quantify as what is a good partner, and how to work on your triggers that come up as you're starting to start that dating situation. Because the goal is to always have a more fulfilling, healthier connection. And it takes a certain amount of work and awareness to keep growing within ourselves so that we are attracting a really healthy partner. We're the healthiest we can be. And so what I want to start out with is, if we are looking for a partner, and I think all of us kind of know how to have that mental list of what we would like in a partner. But what I'd like to talk about is, how do you want to feel in your relationship? And I think that's just really important, because a lot of times if someone doesn't feel lovable, which I think most of the people out there are working on kind of feeling deserving of love and feeling good about themselves. I think that's just kind of a big issue in life in general. So if someone is still working on feeling that, and so maybe they've been in a lot of relationships, or a couple relationships that felt like they were not meeting that emotional desire of feeling really loved very deeply, or feeling seen. And I think feeling seen is a really powerful one. And I like to, anytime I can, even though I can't presume to understand the male experience, I think we're all similar in certain ways, right? And I think everyone wants to be seen. I know women do. And I would assume it would be very, very nurturing and satisfying for a man to feel the same thing. And everyone in between, of the masculine, the feminine, and gay people, everybody. So to feel that, in order for us to feel truly seen and truly appreciated and feel really loved, is such a big bill to kind of get it satisfied. So I think to reach towards that, it's really important to think about how you want to feel in relationship. And again, my name is Michelle Love. You're listening to Dynamic Change on KPCALP in Petaluma. And today I'm talking about when you start dating after you haven't dated for a while, or maybe a long while, and it can be a seriously awkward situation. But even if you haven't taken a big break, but you're single and you're working on dating, I want to talk about really being able to find someone really healthy, someone way better than your past experiences, and work on healing the things that need to be addressed so you're ready for that. And also how to work on your triggers. So everyone will have past triggers from relationships, from their childhood, things that just get triggered as you're thinking about moving into that space of dating again, and how to work on those triggers so you can heal them as you're starting this process, while you're doing the process, so you don't have to get stuck in a relationship that isn't going to be for your highest good. That's not going to bring out the best in you. You're not going to be treated the best. It's just going to be a repeat of an old pattern. So first, I recommend really thinking about how you would emotionally want to be kind of seen. So let's talk about that. So in order for people to see us, and again, I know the woman's mind and heart that it's always a profound yearning to want to feel truly seen and appreciated. So like to be able to be 100% yourself and have that feel like enough, and that person can be like, wow, she's amazing. And I would assume that men would love that as well. So we don't have to come from the idea we have to prove ourselves, or strive to be perfect or have no places that feel vulnerable or messy or imperfect, that to be able to really authentically feel seen and have that feeling in the relationship. And I think it's very, I don't want to say rare, but I just think it's not as common as I would like to see in society and in relationships, where people are able to really just be present with themselves within a relationship and allow that really strong connection with another person. Find someone that will respect you and really want to hold the space where you can both feel so comfortable to be yourselves and to see each other and have patience for each other. So, first of all, to talk about what you value for yourself in a relationship on an emotional level. So, let's start there. So, I think making a list is really good because it's just the act of doing something physical and getting your thoughts down lead to more connecting thoughts. So making a list is powerful, and just thinking of, okay, within my future relationship, put as many things down as you can of how you want to feel. Saying, well, I want to feel that this person is patient, they are kind, insightful, and maybe having a list of they've done emotional work on themselves. And what's really nice too is if you have a partner where you're both willing to work on yourself even together. How powerful is that? So someone that, enjoys some self growth. And that can be either on a spiritual level, it can be psychological and emotional level, like maybe there's certain topics. And the thing is, we don't want to force that on our mate because that usually blows up in your face. It doesn't work very well. But looking for someone that is already interested in that, because if you get in a relationship and then you try to fix somebody, you can't fix other people. And what the healthier route is to find someone that wants to grow in life, and you can find things you can do together where you both want to grow. Whether it's, and I think working on the physical body is always important. As a fitness trainer, having a mate where you can both support each other through exercise and good health is so important for longevity, for feeling good in your body, being happy in life, releasing endorphins to make you feel happy and emotionally balanced. And so, it's just enormously important. So finding someone that wants to grow with you. So maybe putting down a couple ways that you like to work on self-growth. So it could be listening to certain podcasts that you're interested in finding emotional happiness. Maybe you're both working on that. Maybe you're both working on feeling self-regulated. Like what helps with feeling regulated? Self-care, taking, wanting to do things that are nurturing for both people in the relationship they can do together. Maybe once a month they go get a massage, or they say every week we're going to go for a hike. Every day we're going to go walk the dog. And maybe someday there's a plan, we want to take a cooking class together. Things like that where there's this nurturing of the self is so important, because the more we take care of ourselves in connection with the person that we want to be with, so powerful, because life can be a lot, and we cultivating a way where we live our life in a way that brings balance. So finding a partner that wants to be balanced, because no one's going to be perfect, but someone that's one of their things they're always working on is so important. And so maybe you're both really spiritual, and finding someone that has similar beliefs, some of the similar beliefs, and in your list, think of ways that you can work on self-growth. So you have maybe a spiritual aspect, you both like to meditate, you both like a particular religion, you both like to eat healthy. And I think it's good to have a balance of like not healthy at times, have the pizza, have the snack, have that too. But finding someone that, has a healthy desire to take care of the self. So maybe you both are non-smokers, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but finding a good base of someone that wants to continue to grow within themselves on an emotional level, and they're working on, so growth. When I talk about spirituality, I think that's really, and not everyone's spiritual, but finding the different layers of ourself that are important to us in our lives. So if you're a very spiritual person and you're working on mindfulness, you're working on your awareness on those levels, right? And that there's a whole level of self-development within just spirituality. So that's something that can be very huge. So if that is something that resonates with you, you're going to want to find someone that's open to those things. You may not be synced up 100%, but finding someone that has that base, finding what is emotionally important to you in your life. If what's emotionally important in your life is finding someone that wants to have a nice flow within their life, and it's important to them to have some inner peace, where maybe going in nature is really important. So having that kind of emotional strong connection of, I want to do that, or they really love animals like you do, and so maybe you both want to go and have animals around, or be in an environment where you visit an animal situation frequently. Finding these things of what is emotionally nurturing and satisfying for you. And so maybe eating well is really important, and being able to cook together, even in subtle ways, is really nurturing the body through what we eat, is really not only can be quite romantic and lovely on that level, but these are all aspects of taking care of the self, and finding someone that wants to be healthy with you is so important. And so maybe someone is more scientifically minded and they love to learn. Then finding a mate that also loves to learn, so you guys can communicate and you have some sort of common interest. So you're working on a mind connection, because stimulating conversation is huge. And I don't think we always understand or have been acquainted with how satisfying just stimulating conversation can be on an emotional level, because we have all these levels. We have a mental level of connecting with people, an emotional level, a physical level, all the layers. So looking at all the layers. So finding someone that when you speak to them, especially people that are really sharp and really articulate, they need that outlet for that really bright mind. So having someone they can communicate with, and the conversation is interesting, is so important. Or maybe you have a really lovely sense of humor, so you need someone that's kind of jovial, that would joke with you a little bit. So finding these many, many layers of what makes you feel happy and comfortable within yourself and satisfied. So then you're looking at that, and maybe looking, so you got the mind connection, the spiritual connection, then maybe looking at the voice, like this is your list, okay? We're making a list of all the different aspects of how you want to feel in a new relationship. So you might want to think about, okay, when I express myself, if I need to be really honest with somebody, uncomfortably honest, that's what I love to call it. I think it's important to have that ability to be so honest where it may not be comfortable, but if we are striving for that level of communication where it feels safe enough emotionally, like, we feel brave enough within ourselves to be able to be really honest, and that freedom is so powerful. So, putting these kind of things on the list, because I don't think we always are thinking about that. And there's no perfect person on the planet for you, right? None of us are perfect. But the thing is to think about all the layers of what we want. And I really believe there are amazing people out there. I've met them, I've known them, I've appreciated them. They are there. And people that are just so delightful. And so I think it's really important to not limit your expectations of, oh, it's impossible to find someone that has so many of these qualities. Put all the qualities there and put that energy out into the universe. Believe in it, that you can find someone, and maybe they have some rough spots thrown in between, or they're still working on several of those things on the list, but they have those capabilities and they're close, like getting really specific on the emotional experience you're looking for in your next relationship. So communication, stimulating communication, common interests, and maybe you want them to express themselves in a really kind manner, but have strong boundaries. And I think boundaries are huge. I mean, how often do we think, I want someone with strong boundaries that will respect my strong boundaries? Like, in that framework, I don't think we really think like that. I think sometimes, but I don't think that's the focus of what we look for when we're thinking, I want to find someone that can handle strong boundaries, so I can be assertive, right? And say what I need, ask for what I need. And they will also let me know when they feel really strongly about something within our relationship, so we can talk about it. So I think that's a really powerful thing to have on the list. And someone that's very loving, maybe affectionate, kind, really warm-hearted. So I think that, maybe they really love animals, really love nature, like they have a passion, a warmth about them. And so a lot of times we can intellectualize what we want, but I'm talking about the feeling of how you want your mate, your future mate, to feel as a person, and your experience of how you feel when you are with them. So, and maybe someone that's, really just has a great sense of humor. I think a sense of humor is great. And whether you like the black satire, or just, someone that's just sweet, or someone that's wickedly funny. I mean, like, think about it. Like, what allows you to play? And that's another thing, is I think learning how to play. A lot of times life can feel heavy and we've lost that ability to play. So think about the part of you, like what makes you laugh. And if you haven't laughed for a while, I'm sorry, I sometimes run into that issue here and there. Like, go see a comedian, something. Find your laughter again and think about what tickles you inside. And finding a partner where, that is also something that's important, so you can have fun, you can play together. So maybe they like some, common interests, like they like to play tennis, and you both love to play tennis. Or you like to go play the air hockey. I love that one. Or, there's just something that you both like to play chess or play a board game or play cards together. Do something that's fun, or do water sports together, or just hiking, or play soccer, whatever it is, but having something that is playful. So there's still that youth within us is stimulated, is honored, and so we have all these different layers of satisfaction within the self. And then power, I think, is another important thing to look at, looking at how you want power dynamics to feel. And I always encourage to work as a self-defense instructor, and I do assertiveness training, work on being very assertive in life. Push yourself to do it. Because the more you practice it, the more eloquent you can be with it and have this nice flow and balance to where you can express yourself and ask for what you need. And the more you get comfortable with that, you feel safe. You feel more in your power, and which also means when you're in your power, you can hear your mate when they are powerful with what they need to say as well. So, thinking I want a mate where I can be in my power, they don't feel threatened by that power. I want a powerful mate as well, that we can both be strong within ourselves. And then also someone that is comfortable with feeling, vulnerable at times. Because I think allowing ourselves to feel imperfect, to feel authentic, involves vulnerability. So, okay, putting that on the list, I want to be able to feel vulnerable, to share, and to feel supported. How about feeling supported? How often do we put feeling supported on the list? And I don't mean financially. I mean like emotionally feeling supported. How often? Let's put that on the list. It should be on the list. And then you can also put you want them to be together in the world financially. I'm not a materialistic person, but someone that is responsible and works on managing their money well and is not struggling. It's nice to have that on the list, because just to have someone that is strong in the world. And hopefully we're all working towards that. Some people totally have it down and they're my heroes, but that's something, to be strong and together, organized, within their life. And then someone romantic, and think about the ways you want the romance to feel. So again, my name is Michelle Love. You are listening to Dynamic Change on KPCALP in Petaluma. And what I am talking about today within this show is when you have not dated in a long time and you're getting ready to start dating, how to approach it in a way where you are healing the old patterns that have been reflected within your relationships that you do not want to repeat, and how to move forward in a way where you are attracting even something way beyond what you had imagined before, to attract the healthiest, most fulfilling situation. So we're making a list here. I'm giving you examples of the emotional quality of what you want in that future relationship. And again, when I say make a list, don't limit it. Just imagine you can have anything you want. The more we believe we could have anything on the list, we will attract people that have so many of those things. No one will be perfect. No one is perfect. But you have to believe that it's possible and that you're worthy of it. So on the list, we've gotten all the way to romantic qualities. So whether someone's really doting, or they are just really sweet, really affectionate, really romantic, believe in date nights, believe in taking a dance class with you, finding something that is passionate in your book, right? That matches kind of how you express and feel romantically. And then the last thing, I've already kind of brushed on it, but I do think how they take care of themselves. Do they do things that are nurturing on occasion, whether it's, getting a massage, or, going to the hot springs, or they like using a hot tub every day. Maybe you would really want a hot tub or a swimming pool that you can swim in together, exercise regularly. Do they, do self-care for their, just the well-being of their body? Maybe you're really into vitamins and supplements, and you want someone that also does that, someone that likes to eat well and exercise. These things are so important when we want to attract someone really dynamic and interesting for ourselves. So we've made this emotional quality list. And then you think of your list and imagine being with someone. So you got to imagine. So we're going to do, you can do this with me now. We're going to do a little breath work and a little mindfulness guided meditation. I want you to think about the list of what you put down. And also put down, okay, I want them to be relatively in shape, attractive to me, right? So I think what's inside is so important. But, also think of what resonates with you. So someone's in fairly good shape, kind of looks like this maybe a little bit, and has these qualities within themselves. Okay, because I think it's important to look at all the levels, and physicality and attractiveness on a physical level is part of that. So not to make it superficial, but think of that a little bit of what resonates with you, and what really speaks to your heart. Okay, so do this with me now. You can put your hands up on your thighs if you're sitting down, or you can lounge if you're at home and just relax. But we're going to take some deep breaths in through the nose, and this is a way to self-regulate your nervous system, this type of breathing. So what you do is you inhale. We're going to inhale for 4 counts through the nose. Then we're going to hold the breath for 7 counts if you can. When you exhale, exhale through a straw, like through your mouth as if you had a straw, and exhale for 8 counts. So just so you know, this is a regulating type of breathing that helps regulate your nervous system. So anytime you're feeling anxious, stressed out, angry, just out of sorts, this can help calm you down. Okay, so do this with me now, breathing in through the nose, 4 counts. Hold for 7. Exhale through a straw, 8 counts. Inhale 4. Hold 7. Exhale 8 through a straw. Inhale 4. Hold 7. Exhale through a straw, 8. Last breath, inhale 4. Hold 7. Exhale 8 through a straw. I could really feel the relaxation in my body. I could feel my energy release and flow more easily. And I just felt this release in my body when I did that type of breathing. Very powerful. So now just breathing comfortably. You can continue with that breath if you want. But breathing deeply in through the nose, out through the mouth. Now imagine someone that roughly looks like, what what you're attracted to, just roughly, because you don't want to limit it. You could be surprised who comes up and may be amazing. And think of how you would feel in your body to be with someone that had those qualities on your emotional list. Breathing in deeply. And imagine meeting someone, talking to someone that is interesting, maybe really masculine or really feminine or qualities of both. Someone that has a really pleasant energy, really positive, really intelligent, really funny, really kind. Everything on your list: passionate, sensitive, intelligent, healthy, breathing deeply. Someone in their power, someone that allows you to be in your power, someone that allows you to be assertive, someone with good boundaries, someone responsible within their life, someone that appreciates animals, nature, beautiful things or beauty in life, happy with the little things in life, someone that appreciates people, someone that is grateful. Breathing in deeply, someone that takes time to reflect in life, takes time to relax every day, someone that maybe likes to get dressed up once a week and do something fun, someone that likes to play, someone mature, someone emotionally mature, but that can also play, someone that's emotionally intelligent, someone that does self-care, that is always willing to emotionally grow and learn, someone, whether they're spiritual or into being, scientifically intrigued or loves to learn. Deep breath, someone creative, someone artistic, someone that likes to work with their hands, someone that's expressive, someone that is physically fit, someone that likes to cook, someone that likes to laugh, someone that can see true beauty, can see people within how they are within. Deep breath. Someone honest. Someone that can say when they've messed up and apologize. Deep breaths. So finding all the qualities that you want and imagine them sitting there in front of you. And imagine, see how you feel in your body to be with someone that is a solid, together, kind, loving, open, healthy, lovely person. And really feel your body. Now see how your body feels. See if your belly has relaxed. A lot of times we hold tension there or hold tension in our chest. See how your stomach feels. See how your heart feels. If your mind has relaxed, your forehead's relaxed, your throat, where we communicate. See if you have some relaxing in that part of your body. And breathing in really deep. Now we're going to put a beautiful color in our body. So think of your favorite color, and maybe every day you imagine, you take just put a little time for this, maybe just 5-10 minutes a day. And this color is associated with the fulfillment you feel when you meet this person. And don't put too much into how they look or whatever, just a general idea, because we want to be open. Sometimes you have no idea. You may meet someone that is so amazing. You never would have thought they looked like that, or that, you don't want to put any expectations that make it too solid. You want the energy to kind of flow in your life. So pick a color that is going to symbolize how you're going to feel when you feel so fulfilled and so connected with, on all the levels, with this amazing person, and how easy it's going to be to meet this person. So when you breathe in this color and just fill up your body with this beautiful color of ease. Make it easy. Make it exciting, but also nurturing, and just have kindness and love. Because we want it to be emotionally nurturing and satisfying. So we want all those elements, not just the excitement of meeting someone, but a balanced excitement where there is nurturing and kindness, and someone's a good person. Okay? So breathing in your color, fill up your whole body. When you're ready to exhale, just relaxing. 2 more breaths. And exhale. Last breath. So I recommend doing this when you go to bed at night, and when you get up in the morning if you can, just for a few minutes, and keep imagining how it will feel in your body to meet this amazing person with these qualities. Now, next step. So again, this is Michelle Love with Dynamic Change, and I am talking about, as a wellness coach, how when you want to start dating, you haven't dated a long time. So keeping regularly, as frequently as you can, doing some breathing, bringing in that color that symbolizes how you're going to feel to meet someone that has those emotional requirements that you're looking for. Someone that's done emotional work on themselves, some sort of self-growth, and that they're always open to that. I think that's an important one. I think we should, however we want to do it, whether it's mindfulness work, meditation, has done some therapy, is willing to listen to podcasts about how to emotionally expand, whether they're spiritually working on themselves, whatever it is. But to be holistically balanced and well within ourselves, it's one of the areas that it's good to be open towards that kind of growth. Okay, so I always say, have that on the list. Someone that's emotionally mature and always working on growing emotionally. Someone that's emotionally able to own up to things, reflects on themselves, and has patience, kindness, whatever, compassion. Really, really think about what you want and what is important in your life, and finding someone that meets those levels. So then you decide, okay, I'm going to go on the apps. I hate to say that. I'm not an app person, but that's just for example. So if you do the dating apps, just whenever you're putting yourself out there in the world, whether you're meeting them in person, on an app, whatever, say what you're looking for, not in a way, and not in a negative way. You don't say, I've had this in the past, I don't want this, I don't want that, I don't want this, no. Keep it positive. Say, I am looking for this in a partner. This is who I am. I'm a kind, honest, mirthful intelligent person. I don't like to party or very infrequently or whatever. I love to exercise. I love to eat well. You know, someone that it's important to me that they know how to take a break when they need to, working on self-care, whatever it is. Someone that's a bookworm, someone that loves to, hike. But put it out there what you want. And for and on all the levels, like a holistic level, a well-rounded, this is what I'm looking for. So you have some of the emotional qualities in there. And when we do that, I think it really weeds out, like if you really don't want someone that's a partier, put that in there. But say it in a positive way. I don't party, so I'm looking for someone that's not, either they don't or they don't do it much. Just put that out there. You're going to weed out all kinds of people right there. I want someone that eats well, or eats fairly well most of the time. I want someone that exercises, that has goals in life or something, like someone, but put the emotional things in there. Someone that believes in working on themselves emotionally, and put that you do that. Say, I'm always working on myself. I'm looking for someone that's working on, empowerment, working on being healthy in life, and emotionally intelligent, as I'm always educating myself, like putting these qualities out there. Because if we're brave enough to put those qualities out there, you're gonna weed out the people that are not going to be a good match for what you're looking for. So put some mature stuff down that really has some substance. So that's one thing. And then as things get triggered in you, and I will say that these triggers do come up. We all have our emotional baggage and triggers and, wounds we're healing. So just as you're scrolling through the app, you may be triggered. And you'll be like, oh, wow, I had this feeling that came up and I felt scared. I was going to end up in an abusive relationship. And they were like, maybe a trigger could be, I was scared that person, I was going to end up with someone that just cheated on me, or someone that lied. Like whatever the trigger is, pay attention to those. And you could keep tweaking what you have on your list, what you're saying on the app. Honesty is the most important thing to me. I'm very honest, and I'm looking for someone that has that integrity. Put that out there. See, those kinds of words, I think they really kind of, weed out the people. They can be a little intimidating because they're so honest and so bold. Be bold. Be bold. And just really, so when a trigger comes up, work on the trigger. So I would write about the trigger and say, oh man, I had some fear that came up that I was going to end up in this really toxic relationship again. And then, if you're seeing a therapist, talk about it, or talk about it with your friend, journal about it, do some art around it. Try to locate the part of you that still has the wound, with that particular issue. It always goes back to the childhood. If you can identify anything in your childhood, this pattern that I tend to have in past relationships that had this like abuse pattern or something, it's just something unhealthy. Maybe I emotionally sacrifice myself for others, or emotionally take care of others, or, pick people that are verbally abusive, or someone that, financially isn't together, and then I end up, being used for my money, whatever it is, whatever it is, honestly look at it and say, okay, this is what the old patterns. Try to find a thread of where it goes back to in the childhood and work on it. Write about it. So a really nice technique that I love. I also write, and so I think that writing a story, like a creative writing story, can be really powerful. So if you find something in your childhood that you could work on to help heal this pattern that you've identified is a trigger for yourself, write down, okay, when I was 8 years old, I realized that's where that belief started, that I wasn't lovable or good enough. And therefore, I've had relationship patterns where I was with people that treated me poorly or put me down or whatever, because none of it's true. What happened in the childhood was, you know, that none of that was true. Everyone's wonderful, right? But we can buy into these belief patterns due to abuse or a really dysfunctional family situation, or the parents, had a lot of issues or whatever, right? So just say, okay, that wasn't true. Talk to your 8-year-old self. I'm totally lovable and wonderful, and just really try to flush it out and try to break it down for your inner child, the 8-year-old, and say, if I were to really look at that, that particular wound comes from when I was put down in this way. And then look at the person that put you down and say, you know what? I realized that person was an alcoholic. They were an alcoholic. They were extremely unhappy. They projected out their negativity on other people, and I just happened to be in that environment. So, and really try to disconnect all of that. Look at it realistically. And then I'm going to show you, I've been working on a certification of becoming trauma informed. And this is the type of stuff I've always believed in. So when I studied psychology, the mental aspects of psychology were always easy for me to learn. And I always really appreciated them. But what I appreciate and value so much is the somatic experience and how to heal trauma. So doing that breathing that I did earlier, breathing in for 4 counts, holding it for 7, exhaling for 8, is one of the techniques for being trauma informed of how to regulate your nervous system. So if you think about this thing, for example, I've given you an example of someone that was 8 years old and they've located this experience that is affecting how they approach relationship. They could write about it and they could think about it, very gently. If it's too stressful, this is kind of stuff you can work with a therapist. Go seek out a trauma-informed therapist or trauma therapist is what I think is really helpful. But someone that knows how to work with the somatic experience of the nervous system from trauma. And because trauma is on a spectrum. So it doesn't have to be severe for it to have a traumatic effect on our nervous system that was never resolved, that created a trauma pattern within our nervous system, and how that gets triggered. And then we're in this state of, rather than our nervous system being regulated the way it is supposed to, we're activated in fight or flight, or our vagus nerve is stimulated in a way where we don't have this homeostasis of calm. And I think it's way more common than we recognize. That's why, for me, I find this a very interesting topic. Other things you can do to regulate your nervous system and is hug yourself. You could think about this thing from the childhood, hug yourself, your inner child, and just comfort yourself. Hug yourself, rub your shoulder, and just tell your inner child, the 8-year-old, right? It wasn't true. It wasn't accurate. Do some of that block breathing. You can also tap yourself. This is another way to help people regulate the nervous system. So do some tapping around your body. Do the breathing. Do the gentle holding. And allow yourself to grieve. Maybe you just need to cry. And then tell yourself you're safe. And you can even ask if you have a dear friend, they can hold you, or someone you're close with, and just let yourself go through the experience a little bit. If it's not something extreme where you feel like you could do that on your own, and it wasn't an extreme, gnarly thing to process where you really want someone like a therapist there with you, or someone that works with trauma or trauma-informed kind of practitioner. So then writing about it. So this is one of the things I love to suggest to people is, do creative writing to change the storyline of what happened for that 8-year-old, Write a happy ending. Write that, there was a nice parent instead of the alcoholic one, or whatever it was. Give an imaginary scenario, and give them a resolution to that pain by giving it a happy ending. So you can play around with that. And so as the triggers come up, you process the fear, the feelings, the wound around it. So you can work on healing that. And the more resolution you can find with healing that, which means you establish what the belief pattern, the dysfunctional belief pattern of, not being lovable, not being good enough, so you don't feel deserving. So there's been, relationships where it was abusive. So you figure out the belief that came up from that 8-year-old, right? What was imprinted on within the dysfunctional treatment that wasn't fair, shouldn't have happened, not accurate. Everyone deserves to be loved and treated well, but I think as a society as a whole, we're all learning how to be healthier. And so there's this past baggage and patterns that we're all trying to move forward from. Every generation, it's going to get better and better and better. I'm so excited. I really appreciate and love the younger generations. They are going to figure it out faster and have less baggage to heal. I'm so excited. They always give me so much hope. I think they are just so lovely and brilliant and important. So, identifying the belief pattern and work on offsetting that. And I've talked about that in other shows where how you can, work on the belief pattern. So you want to replace it with a new belief. And so giving yourself something new to focus on, because we don't want to focus on the old, it's just resolving it. So processing it out, and then say, this is the new belief I'm putting into my being. So then you do some of that breath work that I explained earlier with the new belief. So give it a color, give it texture, give it a color, maybe give it a temperature even. I want it to feel warm and soothing, or brisk and cool, like this rejuvenating freshness in my body, this fresh start. It's going to feel happy, it's going to feel exciting, and say, what you want the 8-year-old, the new belief pattern. Say, you were so lovable in that moment. You were so spunky and exciting and playful and good, and that's the truth. You have this beautiful heart, and I love the way you dressed in all the different colors, or you loved a color, whatever it is. Like, really talk to your 8-year-old and appreciate them and really love them and say, you were amazing. And give it a color, give it texture, give it a feeling. Maybe, you want to sit on the beach with that 8-year-old as you do this meditation, or just in the beach in your mind, go to the beach. But do something really symbolic, make it really huge, and breathe in that color and the truth, the new beliefs. Breathing it in. Count of 4, hold for 7, exhale for 8. Breathing in for 4, hold for 7, exhale 8 through a straw. Hug, so imagine hugging yourself like you're hugging your 8-year-old. Tap on yourself, do the breathing, bring that color in that symbolizes that. Bring in the sensation of this new feeling. And just keep working on these triggers, keep adjusting. And as you do that, you're going to be more and more ready over and over and over to meet that amazing person. I hope you have enjoyed these ideas. I'm going to read about one of our shows here at KPCA called Nonviolence Radio. It's alternating Mondays, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m., hosted by Stephanie Van Hook and Michael Nagler. Nonviolence Radio explores the power of nonviolence worldwide through interviews and news. I think that's so positive. I am so delighted to have shared this information with you today. My show is Dynamic Change every Wednesday at 11 o'clock. You can see all my shows on my YouTube station, Michelle Love with Dynamic Change and Wellness. And join me next week. Have a lovely day.